glad to see you. If we are just connecting for the first time, my name is Jenny Anchondo. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, really as the moderator of this session for SARE National. And today, the topic for this session is one that I think is going to be incredibly helpful and important for many of you. And it is Lean Model Canvas Part 1. There is so much content and richness in this topic, the Lean Model Canvas, that it's going to be a two-parter. So let me tell you about our guest today. She really comes to us with a wide array of experiences, and many of them that are going to specifically key into the audience. So she is Tarsha Hearns. She is joining us from LiftFund. She's an experienced professional with more than 20 years of combined experience in many different avenues. So we're talking about marketing, sales, corporate training, entrepreneurial expertise. All of that comes together, and that's why she's known as the marketing lady. This is how she's affectionately called, and when you hear about her background and her expertise, you'll understand why. So right now, what she does is she serves as the director of LiftFund Dallas Fort Worth's Women's Business Center. So what this is, if you're not familiar with this, is a 501c3 nonprofit micro lender. As director, what she does is she leads a team that provides the training, the guidance, the resources to entrepreneurs so that they can start, and not just start, but also grow a business. So they're seeing you through this whole thing. I mean, at this point, this group has assisted more than 2,000 women and small business owners, women and minority small business owners. So this is truly specifically targeted to everybody here. Now, she also has, so many different accolades, but I wanted to pick out a few just so you know the credentials that she's coming with. She has been 40 under 40 in Collin County, Business Person of the Year. She's won the Women in Media Award and the Leadership Award from the National Association of Women in Business Owners. She's also been called Dallas Startup Week's Entrepreneur Evangelist. So her passion, both in her public life and her behind the scenes volunteer work, is in helping women and minority businesses and using her gifts and talents to make an impact on the community. In fact, she has served in so many leadership positions. She's widely recognized, and it is my absolute pleasure to tell you one more thing about Tarsha, you guys. As an entrepreneur, author, business coach, international speaker, one of her defining moments in her career was actually earning a contract with the National Football League for a Super Bowl. So she was talking about small businesses, but also playing big within these contacts and these resources. So now, Tarsha, please take it away, and understand that as I hand it over to her, I'm monitoring the chat. So any questions you have, post them there, and we will make sure to get those questions asked and answered at the end. Tarsha?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and SARE National for having me here. It's always a pleasure to share my expertise with the small business community. And you're right, we have a lot to cover in this session. So I want to warn you all who are watching and listening, if you do not have an extra screen up or a notepad next to you, you want to have that. So I'm going to give you 2 seconds, to grab your paper, your pen, or your tablet that you're going to have, and your drink, because you're going to be taking a lot of notes. This is very engaging, very interactive. I'm going to be asking you questions, and you're going to put those answers in the chat, and Jenny is going to read those off. So please interact, engage throughout the session. So let's just dive right into what we are going to be talking about today. Lean model canvas, business model canvas, same difference. You might have heard it different ways, but we're really going to focus on learning how to use the business model and understanding your strengths and weaknesses within your business model as a company. And we want to be able to focus on identifying and being able to convey what your unique value proposition is so that you can increase your sales. Now, some of those terminologies you might like, what is a unique value proposition? What is she talking about? Don't worry. We're going to get to it. I know a lot of you like to jump ahead, but we're definitely going to get to that point. So first off, though, I do want to set a few expectations. Let me just get to the next screen. There we go. I want you to tell me, what are you expecting to learn from today's session? So this is a two-parter. First part is really setting you up for what is the business model canvas? What is a lean model canvas? How is it different from a business plan? In this session, we're going to talk about what kind of problem are you solving, or do you even know what the problem or problems of your customers? And we're going to talk about whether you might think you're solving the right problem, but you might not be solving the right problem. And we're going to talk about how that fits your product or your service fit. And then we'll go into explaining what the business model canvas is. We're not going to do one, but I am going to assign you some homework. Yes, I said homework. Some of you probably haven't heard that word in 20 years, but you will have a take-home assignment. So if you're not coming to session 2, I hope you get the recording because in session 2, that's more of the implementation. So just to get started, I want to know, first of all, if you could put in the chat, tell me what kind of business you have, like either the industry or the product or service that you sell, and then what are you expecting to learn from this session? So go ahead and start putting that into the chat right now, and Jenny will start sharing.
Why don't you repeat one more time too, Tarsha, so everybody
Sure.
able
So I
to.
want to know, what are you expecting to learn from today's session? And when you put in there what you're expecting to learn, I want you to also include what product or service do you sell, or what industry are you in? So what are your expectations? What product or service or industry?
We've got some people popping on and just saying hello, glad to see you, all of those things. So far, not getting any. Oh, Terry owns a gourmet popcorn business.
Okay.
We're going to need samples immediately, Terry. We have somebody else on here who's a notary public and loan signing agent. So hoping to learn how to create a business plan for funding. We also have Susan, who's in fashion, design, tailoring, and alterations. Would like to sell, wants to learn how to market best to have those repeat customers. And then Michael's on here just sort of wanting to learn, wanting to soak everything in, saying not sure, investigating options right now.
Okay, well, those are all good. And while we're going to definitely talk about business plans and we're going to talk about your target market, we're not going to dive deep into any marketing strategies, but I'll definitely give you an opportunity to take advantage of some resources if those some of the things that you need. So let's just kick it off, because a lot of you have heard about business plans, right? But a business model is inherently different than a business plan, right? Many of you who are business owners, probably when you first got started, you heard people say, you got to write a business plan, you got to write a business plan. And for the notary company who's looking for funding, yes, banks, financial institutions, investors, they want to read a business plan because they want to make sure that you have thoroughly thought through this business idea or concept and that you've clearly communicated that. But the reason why a business model is different than a business plan is because business plan is what investors are going to read or really don't read. They tend to read the executive summary. You spend all this time putting it together, 20, 30, sometimes I've seen some that were up to 80 pages. You spend all this time putting those plans together, and guess what they read? The executive summary and your financials. The executive summary and your financials, right? So this business plan is a document that investors read or they want, but they don't really read. A business model is pretty much a single diagram that describes your business. Now, I'm not saying you should not write a business plan, because for some businesses, you definitely need to have that business plan. If you're looking for funding, your funders are going to request it. But both are simply mechanisms to help you reach a desired outcome. Having a business model is much more valuable than having a business plan. So, a business plan versus a business model, the business plans suck because it takes a lot of time to do it. Put in a chat if you have ever written a business plan and how long it might have taken you. It's very time intensive. You make a lot of assumptions, right? Especially if you're in startup stage, right? You're just assuming this is how much revenue you're going to make. You're just assuming this is what the market is doing. You don't know until you actually launch. A business plan is sometimes inflexible, and a business plan is good if you want to test your model, right? So if you're like in the very concept stage and you're just really testing your business model out, it's very good for that. So I highly recommend, if that's what you want to use a business plan for, that's how you use it. But, you know, as a business owner, without any kind of comprehensive strategy, building your business could feel like you are like all over this place, just like this diagram. Jenny mentioned that I am a business owner. I've been in business for 18 years. And I could tell you in the very beginning, I felt like this, just like this diagram. I was just all over the place, feeling like I'm chasing or chicken with its head cut off. And there was no end in sight. And it wasn't clear what opportunities I was chasing after. But with a business model, I'm sorry, my clicker is just not wanting to work right. With the business models, you have a little bit more flexibility to handle what really is normal in your business. Business models have the flexibility to handle the normal as well as the convoluted and the non-linear course of a startup or even an existing business. So what exactly is a business model, right? And so we've talked about the difference between a model and a plan. Now, what is a model? A model is basically describing the rationale of how an organization creates, so whatever product or service you have, how you create it, how you deliver that product or service, and how you're capturing value for your customers. So those keywords are highlighted: how you create, deliver, and capture value. Your business model is all about the process that you go through to capture value. So let's just take a look at a diagram of how that would look. So everybody is in business because you want to make money, right? People are in business for themselves. You might call yourself CEO, but at the end of the day, your customer is your boss. Your business model is important because a proper business model is going to help you to figure out the elements such as your business concept. So some of you on this call might be in the very early stages and you're like that very first diagram where the squiggly lines are all over the place. And you're still trying to figure out that concept. You're trying to figure out what problems you are solving and for whom. Your business model will help you create customer value. You cannot just sell a product or service and not have value attached to it. Your business model is going to help you to explain and come up with how your products or service is going to actually get to your customers. So that's the deliver, right? And how your business is going to stay competitive. And that's part of the value. That's your unique value proposition that's going to help you stay competitive. And it also includes the revenue and the cost that you anticipate. So it's about how you create the product, what is the product or service, how you're going to get that product or service to your customers, how you're going to create money, revenue, and then how you're capturing value. That's the difference. Now, you're thinking, well, aren't all those things in a business plan? Yes, most all of them are in a business plan. But again, when we're looking at the business plan, we're looking at, hey, I'm testing out this concept, I'm making assumptions, I'm doing market research at this, and you're using that plan to help you create a business model. So if there are any questions, feel free to pop those questions in the chat at any time, because this is a lot of information to absorb. And I want to make sure that I don't get too far in without asking questions. So Jenny, do we have any questions so far?
Right now, just some comments, and one that maybe just to keep in mind as we're going through is that Michael was mentioning he was a business owner for many years, went into heavy debt at its inception, and then just took a bit of time to get back because of the hardship of being in debt like that. So that was just sort of what Michael was mentioning.
Okay. Yes. And Michael, thank you for sharing that. And when business owners get to those stages, that's when it's a good time to go back to your business model. If you've never done a business model canvas, this is a great session for you to be in, because then you'll be able to go back and look at each of those components of the model to see where the leaks were, where the gaps were, and what could have been fixed and what you can fix going forward. So your business model is important because a proper business model is really going to help you. Oh, I just said that, didn't I? It's really going to help you also identify what problem solution fit, right? So let's break that down. Whether or not you have a solution in search of a problem, so in other words, you've come up with this product or service that you feel is a solution, and now you're going to go out and find the problem. So I'm going to use something everybody should know as an example of a company that created a solution without a problem, and that's Apple with the iPods. Back in the day, we were all happy with our headphones and our little Walkman on our hip, right? We were listening to music. We had our cassette tapes. We had our CDs. So we had a way to listen to music. So there was no problem because we could listen to music in a headset and a little device on our hip. But then Apple came along and they became very innovative, and they said, well, I have a solution and I'm going to make people think there is a problem. So they came up with these MP3 players where we no longer had to go to the store and buy a disc to insert into our Walkman or a cassette tape to insert into our Walkman. So they created a solution in search of a problem. Or it could be the other way around. You have identified a problem and you have the solution. But whichever way it is, what matters most is finding the fit. So here is where I really want you to start thinking about some of these questions that I have put up, and I want to hear from you. So there's 4 important questions. Let me make sure the 4th one comes up, that entrepreneurs should consider. The first question is the problem you are addressing actually a problem? So I want you to put in so not to just call people out, but there was only a few people who responded in terms of what they did. So they're going to be getting lots of shout outs because they were engaging. So we have the notary company. So the person who says, hey, I have a notary, what is the problem that you are addressing for your clients? Put that in the chat. Somebody else. Does your solution actually solve a problem? So think about what you offer. Is it actually solving a problem? If not, then how is there a problem that you can create and modify your solution so that there's more desire for your product or service? Or maybe you have a product or service that creates a new problem, right? You came up with this product or service to solve one problem, but it turns out it creates a new problem for your customer. And it's interesting because I was just at my chiropractor today, and we were talking about the golden arches. Nothing against McDonald's. I loved McDonald's, but I just can't eat there anymore. I don't know what has changed in their ingredients. Maybe it's just my body getting older, but my body rejects their food. So for me, it creates a new problem, and I can't eat there anymore. And then the fourth question is, who cares about the problem, and do they care enough to actually support your business model? So I want someone to answer, at least 4 people to answer one of those questions and put it in the chat. So go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I just got a really good question that I think is a great one that probably a lot of people are wondering here too. Asking, is the lean model canvas something you created for your own use? Is that something that a term you use, or is this a business tool that's pervasive and familiar to the business community in general?
Oh yeah, actually no. I wish I was that much of a genius to have come up with this business model. Actually, it was developed a long time ago, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but it's been out for a very long time. It is something that has been used. Well, I can at least tell you it has been around for at least 18 years because that's how long I've known of it, anywhere from like 18 years or even more. But it is a model or technique that has been used in the business world, not just for small businesses, but corporations as well. And if you come back to the second session, you'll learn more about the business model canvas, how it was created, who created it. You'll get a template of how to use the business model. So I'm going to teach you all of that in the second session. The purpose of this session is to really, it's like a prerequisite. You have to understand certain things before you can start diving into, and I get it, I'm an entrepreneur too. I just want to cut to the chase. I'm just like, tell me how to fix the problem. I don't want to know all this stuff in between, but you got to know it, right? You got to understand it so that as a business leader, you can make effective and sound decisions. So hopefully that I answered that question.
Absolutely, very helpful. And then Kashonda did weigh in, sort of answering that first component of your question, saying that yes, she solves problems. Documents that need notarization cannot be completed without notary services.
There you go. Anybody else? What other
Yes.
answers to those questions did we get?
And
Let me
then
get
Michael,
one more.
and then Michael says the solution solves the problem in stone restoration when one can turn a pig's ear into a pearl. So thank you.
Yes,
Michael.
yes. Thank you, Michael. So I personally don't remember this purple ketchup. I don't know. Maybe somebody else remembered this Hearns purple ketchup. It
No.
didn't last on the market that long because honestly, it didn't work, right? So some solutions don't even address the problem. So what exactly is purple ketchup the problem they're addressing, right? So you got to think about it. Do you have a solution that's not addressing a problem? Are you willing to fail to learn to find the right fit? Can you all think of some other examples of products or services that you may have bought and you're like, why did I buy this? I don't even know how it's benefiting me. So for you, it is reevaluating your business model to ensure that you have identified the right problem, that you have the solution to that problem is the right fit. All right, so let's move on to the next part. I talked about some solutions create new problems. You know, we have all different kind of drugs on the market, and when you read the side effects, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I just took this medicine to take relieve the aches and pain, but now I have a headache. Now I have cramps. Now I have this and that. So it created another problem. Almost always solving one problem can generate another one. And this is important for entrepreneurs to keep in mind as you develop your business model. So next, so we were talking about problem, solution, fit, and you went through and you actually answered some questions. But how do you know that you actually have the right solution and the right fit? How do you think, how do you know that? How do you know popcorn company? How do you know you have the right fit? Notary company. How do you know restoration company? How do you know fashion company that you have the right fit? How do you know? Anyone care to share? How do you know?
I think there's a little lag time for sure once they hear it. So go ahead and repeat again exactly what you want them to answer, and they will come in. Susan says, you make money. Michael says, quality of services.
So making money, yes, but making money doesn't always ensure that you have the right fit. Because sometimes you can make money, but you're not hitting the revenue goals to make a profit. You may not be hitting revenue goals to generating enough revenue to hit whatever revenue goals you have established. So then sometimes that goes back to saying, hey, well, I'm doing all this marketing, I'm doing all the things people to say I need to do, but it's still not working. Maybe it's a problem solution fit issue. And the best way to find out if you have the right fit is just to simply ask. And who are you going to ask? Your customers. You're going to ask your, right, you're going to ask your customers. You can do that in a survey. You can ask them, what problems are my services, my product or service solving for you? What are the benefits you gain from using these products or services? That will help you determine and really know if you have the right fit. Next is product market fit. So first we were talking about the problem and the solution. Now we're talking about the actual market. Are you solving the problems for the right market, and is your solution the right fit for that market? This product market fit is the first step in the concept validation process. So that's when you're going back to that business plan and you're doing that market research to identify, you know, your target audience. You're doing your market research. If you feel confident about your problem solution fit, then you must also achieve product market fit. Even if you achieve at solving a problem effectively, you must also validate if there is sufficient market for what you have. Validate, is there sufficient market to support the business model? I'm going to repeat that. Is there a sufficient market to support the business model? So the person said, hey, how do I know if I have the right problem solution fit? I'm making money, right? But is there a sufficient amount of people buying it? Sometimes one of the things business owners do, they niche so small that they alienate themselves from certain markets, that because your product or your service is so niche that there's just not enough need or problems to sufficiently support your business model. A business model must have both the problem solution and the product market fit. So let's go over that a little bit. But I think I saw a few chat questions or comments. Are there any I need to address?
Yeah, they were just saying Susan was clarifying when she said making money. She said, "Well, I meant to make a profit." And then Kieran was saying you could, chat with your customers by making polls. And then Michael was mentioning, diversification or knowledge toward more than one option, facilitating more than one solution as it related to what you were just saying before.
Awesome. I'm glad he said that because that brings us into our next slide. When you solve problems, we solve problems in two main ways, either duplicating a product or service or being innovative and coming up with new products and services, right? So a replicative business like a dry cleaners, a movie theater, auto shop, grocery store, all of those are really easy to replicate, right? These types of business models are focused on serving a growing population and the growing population's needs. So think about wherever you live, some of the new communities that are building up. What do you see popping up right along with the new houses and apartments? You're seeing auto shops, the oil change places. You're seeing grocery stores. You're seeing dry cleaners. You're probably also seeing like some kind of nail shop or something like that, because these types of services or business model is focused on, hey, here's the growing population, here's the growing market, and these markets are going to need X. So those they most often stay small because they're local, and they don't export their products or service outside the boundaries of that service area. But then when we look at an innovative business model, this is an organization's process for introducing new ideas. It could be new workflows, it could be new methodologies, or it could be altogether a new product or service. So let's think about this. I'm not to put anybody on the spot, but if you have rode in a taxi within the last 12 months, 12 to 18 months, put yes in the chat. If you have rode in a taxi cab, a regular taxi cab, yellow cab, black and white cab, put yes in the chat. So Jenny, if you've ridden in a taxi cab, put yes in the chat.
All right, I'm monitoring. I'm on it. So far, we've got 2 yeses. I think, like I said, there's just that little bit of a delay. People have to kind of get over there and get from their notes up to the chat. 2 yeses, 1 no. And I will say, I just got back from traveling in France, so I did actually ride in a taxi cab as opposed to a rideshare service, which I hadn't done in such a long time. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how this actually worked, because usually I'm in, Lyft, Uber, whatever the case may be. Karen says she has.
Yes, and so I bring that up because rideshare is one of those innovative way. It basically changed the methodology. It changed the workflow of how we obtain public transportation when we want to get a ride, right? So whether that's Zipcar, Uber, or Lyft, these were some innovative business models. So think about your business model. Are you trying to replicate something conventional in a new market, or are you trying to establish a fundamentally new product or service in the market? So what would you say your business model? Is it more innovative? Hey, I have a new way of doing something. Or are you just basically replicating existing models? What do we got?
Well, nobody's weighing in just yet, but it always takes them a minute to get over there. Go ahead and repeat the question one more time, Tarsha, so that
Yeah,
everybody.
so I'd love to know what type of model do you feel you have? Are you replicating or are you innovating? What
So
is your
far,
model?
two people replicating, waiting on the innovators. I'm sure they're in the room as well. We've got a great mix of people. Let us know on there, you guys, and then that will help, Tarsha to kind of continue on with what she's explaining.
So in a real training environment, I would have these little things that I like throw out into the classroom to people who answer questions. So to my notary company, to my popcorn company, to my fashion retail company, go ahead and put the links to your businesses in the chat because we want to reward you for engaging. Put your business information in there so people can know how to connect with you. Plus, it's also a good way for us to look to see whether this is a business that is serving a growing market, they're just replicating, or whether it's kind of more of an innovative type of business.
We're getting a nice mix now, Tarsha. So a couple people innovating, couple people replicating, and then a couple people who are like, hey, look, I don't have a business plan yet. I'm just here to learn. I'm wanting to hear from you. It just really just getting started out. And wouldn't you know it, the prize for participation is working because we're getting some websites and emails in the chat as well. So thank you everybody for participating. It does make it fun to interact.
Yes, it does. So founders sometimes go wrong when they start to believe that their business plan will actually materialize as written. Now, Jenny mentioned to you before that I'm the director of the LiftFund Women's Business Center. And there, what we do is we provide one-on-one business advising. So we get people coming to us saying, hey, I want to start a business. I need help with my business plan. They write that business plan. And then they literally believe that this is how it's going to be. But remember in the beginning, I said a business plan is just a bunch of assumptions. You don't know until you start operating the business. So that's why that business plan is fluid, because after about 6 months and you start operating, you're going to realize that probably half of what you projected was off. So based on this quote, and by the way, the person who um, asked, where did this business model concept come from? Actually, it came from this gentleman right here that's on the quote, Alexander Osterwalder. He is one of the creators of this, and you can Google him. And actually, the link and stuff that I'm going to share with you will get you access to the template. But he advised entrepreneurs to burn their business plans because it's simply too dangerous to the health of the business. So if you create that plan, you have these assumptions and projections, and you really think that that's how it's going to be. Now, granted, if you have a franchise, you're buying into a franchise, that's a proven system, that's a proven model. So most likely it will materialize that way. So don't get me wrong. There are some, and those are those duplicative or replicating type of businesses because they've been around. They have the model down, they have the process, they've done the research. So yeah, your business plan will probably materialize as written. But for some of you who are more of the innovative type of business model, yeah, just know 6 months or so in, you're going to have to go back and make some changes to that model. All right. So now we're going to talk about what exactly is a business model canvas. I'm going to show you a template. I'm going to give you an example, and then we're going to pretty much wrap things up and get you prepared for session 2. So again, this was just the teaser. The meat and potatoes is next week. So I hope you will be back for that. So what is the business model canvas? It's like a blueprint for a strategy to be implemented throughout organizational structures, its processes, and systems. It's a tool to help you analyze your model, It's a visual representation of the different elements of the model. It's going to help you to see the relationships between the different parts of your business model. It's going to help identify hypotheses, assumptions, and risks. It's going to, remember I said before, in the business plan, you're kind of testing out a concept. Well, the business model canvas is going to validate that. So it's going to validate the market. It's going to validate your channels. It's going to validate your pricing. It's going to help you to find ways to add value or even reduce costs. So the gentleman who mentioned, I think it was Mike, who said, hey, I had this business, things, didn't work as well as I wanted it to do. This is the stage where you want to be looking. I don't know where you are, if you're back on your feet or you've kind of pivoted, that new word. But this is a good time for you to start using this business model canvas, because it also is going to help you brainstorm market disruption strategies as well. Now, before I show this, I just want to get a sense of, in the chat, can someone share if you've ever seen a lean model canvas or business model canvas before? So put in the chat, yes, I have seen a lean or business model canvas. No, I have not seen a lean or business model canvas. Put in the chat, yes, I have seen a lean or business model canvas, or no, I have not seen a lean or business model canvas.
So far, Tarsha, no, 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 which is why we need you. So yeah, we've gotten several responses. In fact, this is the most responded to question that we've had. And so far, everybody's saying, no, I haven't seen either, but we're here to learn from you.
Yeah, well, so that means I could show y'all anything and you'll believe it, right? Because you've never seen it. I'm just kidding, just kidding. I'm going to show you the
We would
real.
never. I've got their back.
Okay, so I've already kind of defined what it is. And so this is what it looks like. It looks like a maze, doesn't it? You're like, what? It's just like these squares? What are you talking about? How can a business use something like this to help them assume risks, brainstorm strategies? I don't get it. So it's really one of those tools that entrepreneurs can use to manage change effectively. It can be used to discover their problem solution. It can be used to discover product market fit. And it allows you to think through the business model of your organization on one single sheet with 9 different squares. Now, I know some of you are like, hey, my handwriting is too big and it won't even fit in some of these squares. So part of your homework assignment is at the end, we're going to put a link in the chat where you're going to watch a video, and the video is going to explain to you how to fill out these squares. You're going to get a link to download your own template. What I like to do is use sticky notes. So I like to kind of use those little sticky notes and stick it, maybe print it out on like an 11 by 17, put the little sticky notes in there. That's really the most effective way to use this. So think of the business model canvas like a visual business plan that details the 9 essential components of any business on a single sheet. You're like, okay, I still don't get it. It still looks like a maze. It looks like a puzzle. Help me out, Tarsha, because it's just not connecting. No problem. We're going to talk about this business model of Southwest, and I'll go ahead and ask that Sarah put the link to the homework in the chat so that way you can go ahead and save that. Don't watch the video now. But save those things right now. So go ahead and put that in there, bookmark the video, download the template. So we're going to walk through Southwest's business model using the business model canvas. I like using a company that you're familiar with because it's easier for you to relate to. Okay, so we're going to walk through each of these blocks, and then next week we're actually going to dive deeper into what each of those sections are. So let me walk through this because we have about 15 minutes or so in left in this session. So typically we start in the middle with unique value proposition. This is the unique value proposition is what Southwest, the value that Southwest creates for their customers that no one else can create. So their value proposition, and the reason why we start in the middle, because if you go back to that diagram on that previous slide, it's the last part of that is creating value, right? Your business model is how you create and deliver value to your customers. So in this business model, you want to start with a unique value proposition. And for Southwest, they make air travel accessible to everyday Americans and do it all through a casual, fun experience. Now, I used to be a road warrior. I have flown all over the place on every single plane except for Spirit, but I've flown on every single plane, and I will tell you, no one else creates that fun experience like Southwest does. So right off the bat, that is how they create value. But now we're going to go over to the left side, and then we'll go back to the right side, and then we'll go down to the bottom. So this is how they create value. Well, what is the problem they're solving? Well, flying is expensive, and it definitely isn't fun. It's a hassle. If you're not TSA pre-check or have global entry, you're pretty much stripping down, right? And that's no fun. And you've already paid for $400 or something for a ticket. So how do they create value? It's accessible. Their airports, I don't know where you are. I'm in DFW. Love Field is the easiest airport to access. And I have a little bit of fun. I laugh every single time I get on a Southwest flight. What is their solution? They're cutting out all the fluff, and they're making flying fun and affordable experience. How do they measure that? Whether their solution is working, it's based on customer retention. So earlier when I asked the question, how do you know you have the right fit? It's the key matrix, right? So you can't know if you're solving problems and you're solving problems the right way with the right solution if you're not measuring it. So they measure based on customer retention, the percentage of on-time arrival, and safety issues. So now we're going to hop over to the right side. Well, what is their unfair advantage? It's the employee mindset. I have friends who work for Southwest, and they love working for Southwest. They really love it. So whatever they do to motivate, inspire, create morale, maybe it's part of their hiring practices, I don't know. It's the employee mindset. And it is a simplified business model. Years ago, when some of the airlines were going bankrupt and getting bailout money, Southwest was doing great. So that's their unfair advantage. How do they deliver their service to customers? Through TV commercials. So you find out about it through TV commercial, travel websites, and credit cards. I get those credit card things all the time in the mail. Then customer segments. Who are they targeting? Urban families, middle class, pleasure travelers, young middle-aged adults. Now we go down to the bottom because this is the money, right? Show me the money. Cost structure. This is your cost. These are your expenses to deliver that value to solve the problem, to come up with the solution, right? To create the value for the customer segments. This is what it costs you. And for Southwest, it's the planes, the maintenance of the plane, the fuel, the market penetration, which would most likely be part of their marketing, or having different hubs or different terminals at different airports, the maintenance, all that stuff is what costs them to be able to deliver that value. And how do they make money for doing all that? Through ticket sales, credit card partnerships. Think about this. I flew Southwest. Last time I flew Southwest was last August. And I was walking through the airport, and I will tell you at least twice I was approached by someone asking me if I wanted to purchase or get a credit card. So this is a key revenue stream for them. Hotels, food and alcohol, although they're not serving that stuff right now because of the pandemic, and baggage fees. But they don't have baggage fees. So how is baggage fees a revenue stream? Because you can check 2 for free, and then you pay for your extra. So that is the business model canvas. Do I have questions? Or is it just crickets? People are just trying to absorb it all. What's going on?
Yes, they're absorbing it. I got one question from somebody saying that the audio is out. Let us know if the audio is out for just you, or if perhaps it's just that one person. And then we did have a question from somebody saying they would like to open an auto repair shop with their son from the ground up. So startup capital would be needed if you have any advice for that person in particular.
Yes, so if you want to put, if Sarah could put it in the chat, liftfund.com/loans. Liftfund.com/loans. It really depends on where you are, though. There are, as a startup, it's not a lot of grants out there for startups, right? Because they're giving corporations, organizations are providing grant funds to existing businesses. So a lot of startups are kind of funding through either a loan, but if you go to that website, and at the end, you'll get my contact information. You can connect with me. I can get you connected to a business advisor who can determine if you're loan ready, and explain to you that whole process, as well as help you look for additional funding. Any other questions about the business model canvas before we wrap this up?
No, I'll let you wrap up, and then if there's time, then we'll get some questions at the end.
All right, so hopefully that it seems simple. Trust me, it seems really simple to create it, but once you sit down and you start thinking about it, it becomes a little challenging. So my recommendation is, when you start doing your homework, you look at the video, look at it with your team. If you are a startup business, look at it with your son. If you're starting your auto shop, and just start having conversations around each of those squares, because it'll start to get you thinking. So that business model canvas clearly will help you clearly see and explain, what business are you in? What business are you in? So someone put auto repair, fashion, notary, popcorn. Most people usually say either the industry that they're in or what products or services that they sell. But hopefully you saw from the business model canvas that if you clearly answer this question, you can create a sustainable business model. If you can't clearly say what business you're in, how are your customers? How are your suppliers? How are your investors or even stakeholders going to understand? So to answer this question correctly, what business are you in? You have to understand what value you create for your customers and what value your customers are buying. Facebook is not a social media business. They are in the business of connecting people to build a community. So my last question for you that I want you to put in the chat is, what business are you in? Do not say what you sell. Do not say what products or service. Again, you have to understand the value that customers are buying, and that's the business that you are in. So share, what business are you in?
We got one from Michael, who's in natural stone marble and granite mechanic. And then Regina says, I'm not in one, but she's here for the presentation.
Okay. So the person who said that they're a natural stone mechanic, what the business that you're in is creating beautiful, stone, or you're in the business of, creating beautiful kitchens, if it's for kitchen countertops, or beautiful floors. That's the business that you are in. The business model canvas is highly customer centric. Your customers' needs, pains, and other traits are going to dictate a great deal of your business model. Thus, it is, huh?
Go ahead.
Thus, it's very critical to understand who your customers are and what they value and how they experience the problem that you are tackling.
So he updated it to say restoration. He's in restoration, which that sounds like, if I'm understanding you correctly, that sounds like a more appropriate, sort of title and knowing where he's in. And then Maria says, I sell promotional items. I'm in the business of helping companies promote their brands.
There you go. I'm in the business of helping people promote their brands. You're not a promotional product business, right? You're in the business of helping people promote their brands. So let's do a quick recap because we got like 3 minutes left. Business plans are very long, tedious documents that nobody reads. The business models are designed to help you understand how your business model will make you money and create value. If you clearly understand how your product service fits within your market and the real problems that you are solving for customers, you'll have a sustainable business. Your business model canvas is a blueprint for a strategy to be implemented throughout your organizational structure, as well as the processes and systems. So next week, hope you're coming back. We're going to dive deeper into those 9 blocks, and you're actually going to create your business model canvas as well as your value proposition. And if we have time, I'm going to choose one person who did their homework to be on the hot seat. So hopefully that's going to be an incentive. And so what does the hot seat mean? It means you're going to do your business model canvas. I'm going to ask you to send it to me in advance. You'll get my, if Sarah could put my contact info in the chat. Oh, and you know what? I didn't put my email, but we could share the email later. But I'm going to have you to just send it to me, in advance. If you want to be on the hot seat, I'll look at it, give you a little bit of feedback, and then next week, we will use your business as the business model canvas. So, but you've got to do the homework. You got to fill it out. So don't send me a half completed or I don't know in a filled out. I don't want to, no. Only the ones who are really serious about using this business model canvas will I pick one to be on the hot seat. So that's all I got. It's 3 o'clock. And what other questions do you have?
Well, that's great. Yeah, so it's 3 o'clock, so we're wrapping up. But thank you so much, Tarsha. This is excellent, everybody. So I want to draw everybody's attention to the chat. We have her contact information on there. And I want you to go there. And if you want to scroll up through the chat, you'll see the other forms if you didn't already copy and paste those. The video. So there's the homework. Remember, you have to watch the video, then download the template, then get that to Tarsha. If I'm understanding correctly, Tarsha, get that to you before next week, right? So get on that today or tonight or over the weekend, get that to her, and then we will meet back here, same time, same place next week. And then somebody will be in the hot seat, which I can only assume is going to be a huge benefit to that person to be able to have her expertise and sort of go through that with you. I also want to remind everybody, and I got some notes from people saying, gosh, I'm trying to take notes while listening. Don't worry. I mean, this is part of the benefit of being a part of this program, is that Sarah puts these out on a replay on the YouTube channel. That YouTube channel is linked up. It's the most recent link that's on there. So all you'll do when you click on that, it'll open up a new link, and then you'll click subscribe, and then that replay will be up by next week. And then now the most recent contact there is Tarsha's email address. So THEARNS at LiftFund.com. So LiftFund.com. Tarsha, you have been wonderful. You've been incredible. I cannot wait to see you next week. Same time, same place.
Same time, same place. And I'm looking forward to getting some of those business model canvases.
All right, everybody, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to Sarah's channel, and we will see you a week from today. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.